Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com is still my address. It's in the description below, your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Today we are discussing a watch that launched back in 2009. This is the flagship of the Marine collection. From that time, it is the extraordinary Marine Royale Alarm 5847 in red gold, 45 millimeters in diameter by 17.5 millimeters thick, and then from lug tip to lug tip, 56.7 millimeters with a 23 millimeter spacing between the lugs. The watch wears large, and I do believe you need a larger wrist than mine to wear this effectively. I would recommend that you start with a wrist of 17 centimeters circumference as the minimum, and then you work up from there. You can see down the barrel, which is the truest angle as I've found. You can really see the lugs are out over the edge of my wrist, and that's even more evident from over the top. And no matter who you are, it's probably not going to fit underneath a dress cuff, being as thick as it is. The watch has a strap that is custom for the piece, a pyramid-type molded pattern, striations down the outer edges. It thins out as it moves away from the lugs, so you can see it conforms to the case, tracing both the downward cant of the lugs and the curvature of the case band. On the bottom, you can see the wave motif that is a signature of the Marine line, and then Marine Royale Breguet in blue, which is a lovely touch. The hardware, the strap minders, wave motif, as you can see, they sort of fit together to show that wave pattern. They're made of solid gold. This is where most companies would just give you pieces of rubber. The strap is fixed to the clasp using a screw and a bar, and the strap is fixed to the case using screws and bars, so there's no danger of them separating. A lot more secure than spring bars. The wave motif again on the buckle with a combination of polish and satin. Now this is friction fit. It snaps shut surely and allows you to quickly and easily secure the watch on your wrist. Now the watch is massive, that's the thing. It's so big that it deserves to be compared with solid gold 44 millimeter Royal Oak Offshores and Hublot Big Bangs and King Powers. This is the kind of watch that needs to be really compared against those on a value basis, because relative to what this costs new, pre-owned, it's both more beautifully finished than the Audemars Piguet and more distinguished in detail, especially where luxury details are concerned, than any gold Hublot Big Bang or King Power. Now the timepiece is a dive watch, 300 meters water resistant with screw down crowns. You can see as I rotate the bezel, it is a 60 click bezel. There is a little rocker mechanism right here that is associated with the indexing of the mechanism. And guess what? That rocker has a waveform. We're going to do a quick lume shot here. You can line up the large luminescent pearl with the minute hand. By the way, the chunkiness of this bezel is second to none. If you like chunky peanut butter and dive watch bezels that can be heard in the next room, this one's for you. The timing bezel allows you to gauge the relative positions of the minute hand and the index for timing a dive, and you can see how elaborately luminescent this dial is. The on-off musical chime at the top of the dial indicating the activation of the alarm, that's visible. The power reserve indicator for the alarm, that's visible. You could see both the alarm time indication and the hour and the minute hands are visible. It's almost like looking at some sort of bioluminescent sea monster, the last sight you'll ever see in a horror movie. Now, the watch is anything but horrific. It is jaw-dropping, though. You could see the dial made of solid gold with an extraordinary rosette guilloche hand cut of the center. So done with a rose lathe, this rosette pattern is cut by a guillocheur who controls the engine using hand guidance and programmed cams. And the same billowing pattern extends to the edge of the dial, where we have applied rose gold luminescent indices, applied rose gold radially arrayed Roman numerals with watchmakers for blue accents, which I absolutely love, and modified Breguet style hands with luminescence. Now there is that little note up at the top that indicates whether the alarm is inactive or active. We have a little triangular index that traces the power reserve indicator, And the watch has an alarm power reserve that can be manually wound, or the automatic system in this movement, which is Blancpain based, can wind both the alarm and the time-telling functions at the same time. By the way, let me shout out the knurling of this bezel, which is among the finest and the deepest I've ever encountered. Okay, back to the dial. You can see that attention to detail is surpassing. Look at the little polished chaptering for the aperture framing the activation notification. Look at the facet of the window sloping down from the dial to the date. And yes, though this dial is chocolate in color, it is solid gold. And you can see guilloché mat, guilloché by hand. Let's do a quick test of the alarm system. Now you can wind the alarm using this crown, and you can set the alarm using this crown. And this sets like a memovox, with the hand matching up to hours and minutes radially, as opposed to the conventional version of this on Blancpain watches, which I find are often somewhat difficult to zero and set. This is a lot more intuitive. You just make sure it's wound up there, make sure it's active. And of course, you can deactivate it or stop the alarm from ever activating using the pusher adjuster over at 8 o'clock. The timepiece does feature the wonderful singing sustain that you've experienced on this movement in Blancpain timepieces, and you can see that the striker was beautifully finished. I'll also demonstrate how you can manually wind the power reserve right here. As I wind it, the power reserve indicator advances towards the center of the dial. That's how that works. You can also see that this movement features hacking or stop seconds. And there is a quick set system for the date, which has a wonderful serif font used. Flipping it all over and taking a look at the movement. Breguet calls this the 519R, and it is gorgeous. Take a look at that rotor. That is also cut on a rose lathe with a spectacular waveform or seashell guilloché on solid gold. Then you can look at the finish of the movement. Stripes across the bridges. There's engine turning on the base plate. All screw heads are black polished with chamfered slots in circumference. You could see mirror beveling on the edge of the lobes of the striker with a sort of satination, a deeply grooved snelling across the top as well as the lower tiered lobes. The movement has a 45-hour automatic winding time-telling power reserve. It beats away at 4 Hertz. You can see it has a free sprung balance for shock tolerance and precise setting. This movement, which features 36 joules, is adjusted in a superb 6 positions. 5 is chronometer standard, 6 is beyond chronometer standard. Take a quick look at the anglage here. Difficult to show on camera, but the mirror polishing and the rounded profile is unmistakable and much appreciated. You can see atop the ratchet wheel a lovely solarization. Secondary wheels also feature a combination of solarization and satination, which I love. And if you look, you can see that both the jewel and the screw sinks have also been internally beveled. There's just a lot to love about this reference 5847. Again, you can go out and you can spend a fortune on a Royal Oak offshore chronograph that is just a chronograph, or you can get this incredible complicated diver from one of the great brands in all of history for a fraction of its original retail. It's worth more than it costs used, and that is the winning equation for watch buying in 2023, getting more than you expect for your money, not less. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.